Welcome everyone. We are starting with the session. I would like to invite upon stage Mr. Rohit Pandharkar, Partner, EY. Mr. Pravin Anand, Managing Partner, Anand and Anand. Mr. Niraj Ruparel, Emerging Tech Lead, WPP India. Mr. Gautam K M, Partner, K-Law. And to moderate this session, we have Mr. Uday Singh, Managing Director, Motion Picture Association, India. Welcome you all on the stage.
That depends on you, really. Good morning. We have a very interesting panel today. People are already started asking questions on this. And sometimes you wish that my avatar would answer those questions. But the basic issue here is what we're going to be discussing with this wonderful panel is the question that I'm asking is, does generative AI have an intellectual property problem? So kind of nailing the issue straight away and saying, how do we deal with this? So copyright is the foundation of the entire motion picture and television and streaming industry and provides a framework for the significant investments required to produce audiovisual works. Content creators strongly support a robust copyright system that encourages the creation of movies, television and streaming programs and other art forms. As with any industry, there will be free riders and infringers are not exempt from copyright law just because the use of involves new technologies, including generative AI. And as a reminder, generative AI is just one possible application of fast evolving AI technology. Therefore, courts and policymakers must approach these questions thoughtfully and carefully without jumping to definitive conclusions based on limited experience with this technology. Movies were silent until the late 1920s when talkies were introduced. Despite initial resistance, music and dialogue are now essential to any film. Similarly, television once threatened the motion picture industry, but has since transformed how content is consumed for over a century. Technology has generally enhanced audio-visual content creation, and AI will further enhance the filmmaking process and the audience's viewing experience. The entertainment industry sees great promise in AI, and AI tools can free creators from tedious tasks and allow them to concentrate on their creativity. Rotoscoping is just one example of such a task. It is important to note that humans will continue to play a central role in the creative process, and AI will serve as a valuable tool to improving the filmmaking process, enhance the audience's viewing experience, and increase fan engagement. Nonetheless, it's essential to ensure that the use of generative AI is not exempt from the scope and application of copyright laws. Specifically, cases involving potential infringement require a case-by-case examination. Depending on the particular facts, using copyrighted works to train AI or generating output based on these works may constitute infringement. Determining responsibility when a generative AI system produces infringing output will also require a fact-specific analysis. However, existing laws are well placed to handle these scenarios. Derivative works based on existing works may be protected under copyright law. It's an open question whether generative AI produces a derivative work based on works that were lawfully used for training. To qualify for copyright protection, a derivative work must introduce significant alterations. It is important to deal with such cases on an individual basis. AI technology raises new questions for copyright law, but existing doctrines and principles are sufficiently flexible to address these challenges. No new legislation or special rules are required, and the courts are well placed to handle difficult cases. To this end, the Minister of State for Commerce, Mr. Som Prakash, recently stated in the Rajya Sabha that the Indian IPR regime already protects legal persons through copyright law, so there is no need for a separate set of rights for AI and related innovations. The existing legal framework is equipped to safeguard works using generative AI and related innovations, and there are no current plans to create separate rights for AI-generated content. Just as importantly, the minister affirmed that a user of generative AI must obtain permission to use the works for commercial purposes, which MPA interprets, which is my company, interprets as referring to usage in AI training, unless a specific fair dealing exception is provided under Section 52 of the Copyright Act. MPA has further noted expert views that no current exception under Section 52 would accommodate the ingestion of work for commercial-focused AI training in India without obtaining said permission. The minister further noted India's adherence to international conventions and agreements for the protection of copyright works and referred to digital circumvention as an act of infringement for which India provides adequate civil and criminal remedies to rights holders. Taken all together, the precisely worded statement from the Minister of State is overall welcome at this time and consistent with the points I have noted earlier about the need for continued careful thought and deliberation against the backdrop of rapid technological change. Ultimately, generative AI democratizes content creation, but we must respect the rights of creators who made it possible. So to discuss this, we have a very interesting panel. I would like to go around and start with the, first 5 minutes of introductory remarks from each one of the panel members. So I'd start with Mr. Anand, if you can.
So before I kind of go down to some of the issues which you've mentioned, I'd like to zoom down on what is the real problem that we are really facing. It's important to know that when we talk of artificial intelligence, you're talking about intelligence. And intelligence has evolved. It's not just logic and knowledge and information. Today, intelligence includes intuition, it includes humor, it includes consciousness, it includes awareness about yourself. In AI, we have reached only the 4th stage of what has been predicted as the 10 stages of AI development. There's a lot to go, and we will go to next stages which are far more complex, which will include divine AI and artificial general intelligence and so on, cosmic AI and so on. And there will come a time when the singularity state is predicted to be a state when machines will not want man. They will not need man, they will not want man. Now, so when we think and talk about any solutions, any problems today, keep in mind that this is just the beginning. And whatever we do today has got to take into account the future. That's point one. I think the one thing is very clear, that AI is helping us a lot. It's helping us in almost every predictable field, in agriculture, in pharmaceuticals and healthcare, in education. I don't need to multiply those examples. Everything that you touch, AI is helping us. At the same time, we are all in recognition of the fact that AI poses very complex dangers. Of course, losses of jobs, etc., is one thing. But then there are counter-arguments, the Ludit fallacy, and how every technology that comes, there's always a prediction that people will lose jobs. That's not really such a problem, but it goes down to deep fakes, to bias, which can be killing, to autonomous weapons, where the weapons will decide who to bomb, where to bomb, when to bomb. So we certainly need to regulate that. Question is, just go back in time and see how have we regulated anything, whether it was electricity or whether it was extremism, terrorism, or any violation, any kind of violation of laws. It was all done through laws. You need a law. So although the minister did say a few days ago that our existing laws are good enough, I don't think that's true at all. And I'll give you a very quick example and drill down to where we are today. You may recollect when the internet came on in the 90s, we had domain names registered, and the first question that came up in the Yahoo case was, can domain names be protected by the existing trademark law? And it almost created a huge month or two of arguments when we told the judge that we'll show you the internet. He said, where? We said, in your chamber. He said, how? So we installed a connection in his chamber, and in Alta Vista of those days, put in his judgment. And it came out before him, and he was quite surprised, so he started reading his own judgment. But then, that was St. Paul on the road to Damascus, completely changed. He wanted books on the internet, and and then ultimately wrote a fantastic decision, which is a landmark on internet domain names, the Yahoo case, Yahoo versus Akash Arora. From that time onwards, what we were doing at that time was to use old tools. The tools were nuisance, negligence, trespass, all the usual torts that are used. We were using those to fight a new wrong. We did not have a new law for domain names. Similarly, when we had cases on meta tagging, hyperlinking, framing, phishing, spamming, we did not have new laws. But we used old tools again to fight this. And at that time, it appeared to be a perfect solution because we got injunctive relief, we stopped the wrong, and it appeared to everybody that it's gone away. But that did not happen. Over a period of time, look what's happened on the internet. The scams that have developed, whether they are job scams or any violation of well-known consumer brands like Colgate or Unilever's brands or any of the other companies, fashion brands, Louis Vuitton, Prada, etc., etc. There's so much of piracy on the internet that the Justice Pratibha Singh of the Delhi High Court decided that she should get 50 domain name cases together and in a unique dispute resolution mechanism got hold of all the affected interests, whether there's right from ICANN to MIT to DOT, RBI, banks, domain name registrars, sellers, buyers, online platforms, all of them were represented in court, and we are trying to find a solution to how do we do it. When you want to buy a new telephone connection, you have to show your Aadhaar card and your PAN card, and your identity is registered. When you want to open a bank account, you have to show your identity. But in the freedom of press or freedom of speech, the internet has got away. You do not have to show your identity when you record or register a new domain name. The result, at best, you can stop the wrong, but you can't do anything beyond. You can't get money. So, at the end of the day, how does a law work? What is a law which is not followed? You need a law to be followed, and a law will only be followed if the violation of it leads to consequences which are painful, either money, that is fines or damages, or imprisonment. If there is nothing of that sort, then people will violate the law. People will copy Tata today, then you stop them, then they'll copy Tata 1, you stop them, they'll copy Tata 2, and they'll keep proliferating that wrong. It will never stop. It's like fighting bees with a hammer. It's not possible. So that is the core problem today, which is leading to every internet violation, that there is no identity check at the time you register the domain name, and so you have a free pass to enter the internet and do what you want without being, and you give your fake name, and it's all done. Now, this is the main point. The second point I'd like to make is, we argue so much about in copyright law, who's the author, is it the computer, can it be an individual, the human only, or it can be a machine as well. The books are full, articles are full, the internet is full of, kind of material on this. How is it relevant? At the end of the day, a work is being created. The work has to be, if it's worth it, it needs to be protected. The only reason why it's important to pin down the identity of the creator is because if you wish to transfer the right, a machine can't transfer. Right? Also, if the work leads to some liability issue, somebody needs to be held liable, and a machine can't be held liable. But the copyright solution under our act of a computer-generated work, the author is a person who caused it to be created, or who was responsible for its creation. So the moment you have an AI program or AI-generated work, the person who caused it to be created or was responsible, all you need to do, somebody has got the data together, somebody has trained the model on that data, somebody has provided the prompts which led to the generation of the work. So that somebody, the person who has the closest link to the generated work, is obviously the person who ought to be the author. And so that question has been given too much of importance. On violations, we can, I know that I've taken too much of time, so I'll skip that now, and we can come to it in round two if there's one.
Sure. Gautam, take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think Pravin sir mentioned a lot about the history of how technology has evolved and also the challenges that are posed today with AI. I think now the way we are looking at it, AI is growing at a fast pace, and we have a lot of interest in this subject. I think for us as lawyers, it's a very interesting space to be in. And it's heartening to see that, a lot of people are, coming to lawyers to seek advice and, get an understanding of how, not just, how to create an AI model or how to use it, but also to understand the intricacies that go behind, the legal aspects to all of this. So I think, what I will be delving into is, aspects of ownership, authorship, which Pravin sir clearly mentioned, and also delving a little bit into how each aspect of AI kind of weaves in to the law, and how the legal system currently, the way it stands, is there any protection that's available to content creators, or for that matter, people who create AI models, and just get further into that, and also get into a little bit of fair use defenses available currently under the Indian law, as well as how it is being perceived globally, and how fair use or transformative use is a defense available currently under the way it's looked at from a judicial perspective, from a legislative perspective, and also whether a balanced approach needs to be arrived at when we're looking into these aspects to protect both the interest of people who create AI models as well as people who use AI models for the output, for protection of what kind of works that come out of the AI model, whether they are considered derivative works, whether it's original works, what are the differences. So I will be getting into a little bit of detailing of that, and considering the time, I think I'll move on to everyone's.
So after the lawyers here, we go to the practitioner who's doing some amazing stuff, and open it up to. We can start, and then we go to.
You want to go first? You've been launching like big reports, 400 pages. You should go first, maybe.
All right.
Okay.
So I think it's an interesting panel because we have a few lawyers, an agency person, an industry representative, and I'm the technocrat on the panel. So I'll talk from the point of view of technology, and I'll give you a hypothetical exercise to establish the point I'm trying to make. Do this exercise with me for a minute, right? Every one of you remembers the classic Cadbury ad, right? The girl sitting in the cricket stadium, the batsman hits a sixer. She's eating a Cadbury, she gets euphoric, gets down to the stadium, evades the security guards, and goes to the pitch and celebrates, right? A very popular ad. Kuch swad hai zindagi mein, kuch khas hai zindagi mein, right? Imagine the CMO wanted to do that ad today. Now connect with Sora, right? You had to book a stadium. In the previous days, first thing is you have to book a stadium. You have to book, do that ad, right? You book the stadium. You bring 1,000 people crowd, an artificial crowd, real but dummy crowd, and then you have to get makeup artists. You have to have the camera vans. You have to have models. That actress with a purple dress, you have to choose her dress aligned to the Cadbury colors and so on. And it may take 2 months to make that ad, right? And maybe a few crores. Of course, the ad did well, but in today's world of Gen AI, connect it with Sora, where somebody in an agency writes a prompt, a fairly detailed prompt, describing exactly the same thing, which is a girl is sitting in a cricket stadium wearing a purple colored flowery dress. Her boyfriend is
Sora kicking in.
the rumble of AI arriving. So somebody writing the prompt that a girl is sitting wearing a purple colored flowery dress, a cricketer is hitting a six, and she gets euphoric, comes down through the crowd, evades the security guards and celebrate on the pitch. This can be done in 10 minutes, imagine, and zero cost. Of course, there'll be some cost of compute on cloud, but imagine the stark difference. 2 months, a few crore rupees, getting the models, getting cricket stadium booking, that's the painful part, I think, right? All of that is gone. Now, if an agency and a CMO have the option to choose A versus B, what are they going to choose? Look at the cost, look at the speed, right? If you're going to supercharge the media creation this way, generative AI is here to stay, for sure, right? Because it has so much of cost and speed and creativity implications. Now, having said that, so first point is it's here to stay. You can't ignore it. EY just published a report yesterday at FICCI Frames, the FICCI EY industry report on media and entertainment, that said Gen AI is going to add 45,000 crores of value to the media and entertainment industry by 2027, which is just the next 4 years. That's huge, right? A few $1 billion, maybe $5 billion of impact. So now let's come to the second part. So it's important, it's going to drive value, innovation, creativity, for sure. Now let's come to the part of copyright, right? Where the real tussle is. So let me advocate from the technology point of view. Why do you need it? See, for any AI model to do something, you have to train it, right? Just like a child learns. When a child is born, he or she hears his mother, parents, and family speaking in Hindi or English or whatever language he's hearing, and that's how our vocabulary gets trained, and that's how the child learns to speak. Even for humans, it's the same, right? So the AI has to learn. So to learn, one could extrapolate and say it's like the child violating the copyrights of whatever parents are speaking around, because it has learned and trained its mind on what it's spitting out later in life, right? I'm just extrapolating. But I hope you get the point. So the AI, the poor AI has to learn from the corpus of body of work that has been created in the past. Now the problem is, when you have a powerful technology that can exponentially supercharge the creation by learning everyone's content and create new creative content, it's going to create problem for others, right? It's going to really violate and create inequalities. Like imagine if you can synthetically create a celebrity face and voice, how many ads can Shah Rukh Khan shoot in a year manually, practically, right? Maybe 20, maybe 15. Imagine if we can create his ads by licensing his face and voice. There could be 1,000 ads. So when does the second Shah Rukh Khan arrive on the scene? Probably not, because like the celebrities can keep doing more, right? Or on the other hand, the Airtel girl, for example, who has a new face, you can create a synthetically new face also using Gen AI, right? So it's probably going to touch a lot of areas of how does it give chance to someone and exponentially create the chances for someone who is already established and so on. So there is certainly a problem. Now what's the right way to do it, right? So I came across this interesting startup called Beat01.ai. It's a play on Beethoven, but Beat01, beats from music, right? They can generate synthetic music with a prompt. You write an English prompt saying, I'm sitting on a beach in Goa and play some soulful music, I'm on a holiday. And it will create new music for you, personalized, hyper-personalized music, right? So they're generating music, creativity. But the way they did was really good. I asked them, how did you train your model, the generative music model? And he said, I got 100 artists, musical artists, to actually create musical scores for me, and I paid them, and I bought the copyrights from them, and that is how the training data was fed into the model, and that model is now generating music which has been trained on paid content where the creators were appropriately compensated. Now, how much compensation is appropriate is another question altogether, right? But certainly the creators have to be appropriately compensated. And last point before I stop, I want to make is, there are a lot of other interesting areas to think of. Just the morning session we had on Gen AI startups presented a startup called Mugafi, which actually has built a co-pilot for script writers. Okay, imagine a movie script is being written and you can actually use the Copilot to improve the plot. It gives you tips, it gives you suggestions, it can give you different plot lines. It's amazing. Now, if a movie script has been written by an original human scriptwriter using the Copilot, is it a violation? You know, it's confusing because the AI has been trained on other scripts possibly, or other content on the internet, and it's giving me inputs, and it's hybrid human plus AI co-creation. And then what happens to the copyrights then? It's an interesting area, and I feel all we have to do is definitely embrace the technology, but make sure artists' rights are protected, and we create a world of equality, but a magical world where AI and humans treat each other with the pilot and co-pilot relationship. Like the pilot is really driving the plane, right? And the co-pilot is only sitting beside. So that's what AI could do.
Thanks, Rohit. You talked about the magical stuff. So he's been at the forefront of doing some of that stuff. Take it away.
Thank you so much. I would say best friends in my organization are legal folks now, because there's so much to learn from them. Every time you are thinking about a creative idea, and I kind of specialize in using the power of creativity and AI to deliver solutions for marketers. I would say now with a team of 150 people, I have at least got 5 of guys who are legal folks who are now working as part of this community. And out of every 10 ideas we propose as a creative folk for our marketing campaigns, we were just discussing, 8 of them are being shot down by legal guys saying that, okay, this can go wrong, that can go wrong. So if I talk about creative AI as a space, we spent about 2 months to code a campaign, but we definitely start the conversation with legal almost 6 months prior to it. Trying to coach them, trying to coach the marketers and the legal folks on the marketers side, even the talent, celebrity who are involved as part of it. So in this journey, what I personally, what's worked for me is my own AI clones and avatars. So 2.5 years back, I coded my own avatar, where I think ChatGPT, the pre-ChatGPT era, so LLM and NLG models were not even the known thing then. So I used to spend about 10 hours reading a script, the green screen, and read those scripts for 10 hours. That used to help me create my clone, which when I did my first campaign with Hrithik Roshan, we spent about 30 minutes. Later with Shah Rukh Khan, not just a Cadbury ad, very popular campaign which won us Titanium Lions, we spent 20 minutes with him, and now we can render it in 5 minutes, and in certain cases images can talk. If you've seen my promo on FICCI right now, I engineered my first promo, which is my AI human, which is what everyone can do. Just upload your picture and it will give you an AI version of you. But since I have my clones already there in the market, I think 7th edition of my clone is already there in the market. In one of the recent Amazon conference where we were releasing a voice playbook, I got my clone to actually speak in multiple languages. It's 60-70% accuracy out there, right? So personally, I can only speak 3 languages, but I showed how clones can do language models and how it can play a role when it comes to rendering campaigns in many Bharats, as we call it, right? India and many Indias, and those 22 languages which we have, the marquee languages, 780 dictions. That is what the universe is now going for. So I would say AI is pretty much a paradise for creative folks. And obviously there's a lot of learning from the legal side, so you got to work hand in gloves and create solutions and constantly prototype is what I would say. Now look at what we do. Last year, our global CEO, Mr. Mark Reed, inaugurated our experience centers. We call it the Creative Technology Experience Center. But what we believe is the power of creativity is the key to you deploying technology-led solutions which is going to resonate with consumers and create that ultimate wow with them. And that's how you're saying so many campaigns are getting created in recent times. I think the first campaign ever which I did in the pre-GPT era was the recreation of young Sachin, if you guys followed that, for Aegis Federal. The 11-year-old Sachin was being created. And if you see the AV, which has now won a lot of awards and it's in the public domain, there's a quote from Sachin where he's totally loved the render and the output because he only had about 5 odd pictures when he was 11-year-old. And seeing a full-blown avatar of him talking about the brand thematics, obviously comms, all these solutions, they get rendered very close to comms out there. So if you see typical insurance companies would just scare you saying that insurance le lo, mar jaoge types, you know. And this is like a 11-year-old Sachin talking about, this is the route I want to take. You know, very progressive communication out there. So when you are using AI, there are so many ways where you can positively use AI, like sir mentioned, that there are so many ways AI is now coming into play. At the same time, you've got to be watchful in so many ways. So the first one was Young Sachin, and the most recent one where we said that consumer in the post-GPT era is what we are talking now. Consumer already has got access to GPT 3.5. They go to DALL-E marketplaces. They are buying prompts out there. They're firing up prompts. They're getting machines to render the best possible output. We said if you were to create a experience right now in the post-GPT era, what would be the experience like, which consumer cannot just go out there and create it. So one of our very recent campaign and one of my most favorite ones is the work which we did on this World Cup with India's ex-coach Ravi Shastri for Britannia Golmaal, if you guys followed that. And we launched it on consumers' most favorite platform, which is WhatsApp. Sits at 580 million in India. India smartphone base 650 million again. So it's like a very sticky platform out there. So in the World Cup season, you can ask your favorite cricket coach, Ravi Shastri, any question around cricket, and he gives you an answer back, like his video avatar gives you an answer back. Now, for a consumer, it's just simple, dialing up WhatsApp and you're getting a response back. But behind the scenes, we had so much work which played. So when we had to load it in Asia Cup, but obviously it took me 6 months to get all the clearances, and ultimately we went live in the World Cup, the India-Pakistan match, which was fabulous. So in so many ways, it worked in our favor. But the way it worked is, consumer comes in, punches in a query. The question goes through our profanity layer. Now you would say that OpenAI already has a profanity layer. Why do you need to put a profanity layer out there, right? So our profanity layer is our expertise in building conversational AI solutions for Indian market, which understands India local nuances. For example, OpenAI might not know about certain India-specific nuances or India-specific communities and certain things which can go wrong. So when a consumer comes and punches in a question, goes through profanity, goes to ChatGPT, it renders a response. The response again goes through profanity. And then the text which comes in, which is again screened for input and output, goes through our text-to-video engine, and you would see Ravi Shastri giving you answers out there, right? So that's a classic example of how so many engines were working behind the scenes, so much of paperwork which is required to get all these platforms together to build that very powerful, creatively charged campaign out there for consumers. So that's heavy lifting is already happening in terms of creative agencies upskilling themselves, embedding these platforms as part of their culture, and then also working very closely with the legal folks and then ensuring that the content that is getting rendered is completely rights cleared, like we say, the stocks cleared images, or that is what the WPP NVIDIA partnership signifies, right? So that's an ecosystem where we are heading towards in terms of so much work which is possible in this space. And like I keep saying, the best way to play in this space is to constantly prototype. So what we do, for example, the Airtel leaders were there in our experience center in Delhi last week. And one of my colleagues, they came up with a very interesting CSR idea around AI. So we invited the comms guys to come and run a proactive presentation to Airtel leadership, saying that you're already working on laying down the 5G highway, and there are so many solutions which you need to build for consumers out there. So consumer today is on 10 Mbps on the 4G highways. 100 million of them have already moved to 5G super highways, where the consumer has speeds of 200 Mbps. What marketers will have to do there? So all the tech stack which was getting suppressed because of bandwidth is going to get live with AI as a soul, and they will have to go there and create stickier, creative destinations on the 5G super highways for consumers. So your regular websites are now going to be converted into virtual worlds. Your mouse and cursors would be actual individuals looking like us, moving into these environments out there, right? And the underpinning platform there can be blockchain, which brings in that trust in so many ways. So all in all, we are saying we are moving towards an environment where marketers would be creating really thoughtful campaigns out there. I'll give you this classic example of a prototype platform which we have created. This is for physically challenged people who cannot see, basically. But they have a lot of thoughts. They use our platforms to fire up commands to create a piece of art. You getting what I'm saying? So you have visualization. You cannot see, you cannot draw, but you have visualization. You have to use your visualization to create a piece of art. And then you go to look at a marketer, say a paint brand, who wants to come into their life and kind of own that particular platform. So there's so much positive, good use of AI which is possible. And that's what personally what we are gunning for as an organization. And that is what I would love to talk, if time permits, because we've got some real serious conversations going on here. But I would love to add as and when they share. Yes, yes. Thank you so much.
So coming back to you for round two.
Oh, I got a clap.
So what has been your experience in the use of AI by your clients? How do you make sure their interests are protected? Could you share an interesting case from the recent past with our audience?
I can do that. Just if I can just comment very quickly on the fair use point that you brought up. I just want to say this, that when you decide to take some data to build up a model, you have two choices. One is to get permission, or the second is to get an opinion that what you're doing would not violate, and go about taking the risk. But I must tell you that in a practical world, we must remember that there are 788 district courts in this country, and there are 25 high courts, of which 5 have an original site jurisdiction. So you can say 788 plus 5 minimum courts, which anybody can go and approach in any remote corner of the country, and it is only up to a judge to decide whether this is or is not fair use. So there could well be an injunction on your head, whereas a battery of lawyers has told you that this is perfectly safe. That's the practical side. Therefore, it is always, always better to take permission, and that's when you're absolutely safe. To give a quick example, we were, as a firm, we like to kind of educate people on intellectual property. I was doing a little survey amongst children to find out if they know about Indian scientists. Everybody knows Einstein and Madame Curie and Newton, but they didn't know, very many children didn't know about Indian scientists. So in order to promote STEM, science, technology, engineering, maths, which is the basis of intellectual property, we built a model of Sir C.V. Raman, who got the Nobel Prize in 1930, an interactive model where you could ask him anything. You could ask him where he did his schooling, what he got his Nobel Prize for, what is the Raman effect, and he would answer. Extremely successful model. But I knew that fair use allows me to do this. Yet, I went to Sir C.V. Raman's grandson, Mr. Radhakrishnan, Vivek Radhakrishnan in Bangalore, and got his permission to do so. I wanted to play it absolutely safe. Second example, we bought a painting from, one of the, somebody who was selling it on a street, and then wanted to use one corner of that temple to make New Year cards, greeting cards. So we went and told him, you've given us the painting, but you haven't given us the right to copy one corner. He said, I don't need to. He said, do what you want. We said, no. Here's the money. Here's a deed of assignment, which permits us to make greeting cards. Because we wanted to honor that artist and to propagate the theory, and we put his name on the cards. Because we wanted to spread that message that when somebody has, the creative world is a very small world. And people who copy and make money on the creative outputs is a huge world. And if the creative world will not be supported, then they'll vanish one day.
Yep.
And that's the spirit with which you have to approach copyright. I think that's very important for us to spread that message. Now, coming to your question about the experiences, Anil Kapoor's case was a recent one, where Anil Kapoor's image had been copied on the internet. Deep fakes had been produced, morphing his image with Katrina Kaif and other artists. And so we went to court, and the court, of course, injuncted that, but more importantly, the court gave examples of what if Mahatma Gandhi holding a gun, what's the kind of message it will do, what's the kind of pain it will cause to those who follow him, right? And there's a lot on deep fakes in that judgment. And of course, personality rights, and other different kind of torts. You know that today various new torts have come about. Doxing. There's been a recent decision of the Delhi High Court on doxing, which is public embarrassment of somebody. So, you know, a lady had kind of, on a Twitter, she'd said something about a politician, and so the group that supported that politician just tore her to pieces, bringing her confidential information on the internet. And that would be an example of doxing. Like this, there's salami slicing, where people steal small amounts from you, and it makes up a large amount. And then there are many others, which of course there's no time here to discuss, but you as a person, as an entrepreneur, have to be alive to all those wrongs, because you could be committing any one of those wrongs these days. They were not seen as wrongs in the past, but in the context of the internet, they are actionable.
Rohit, you've just, as you said, released that report, and the NASSCOM's AI Adoption Index 22 says the potential AI adoption GVA by 2025 will be about $500 billion. So do you have something similar for the M&E sector? Are you guys looking at something here?
Yes, so I'll give a few numbers. As I said, the EY FICCI Media and Entertainment Industry Report was just released yesterday here at this event at Frames. And if you go to page 260, there's a full page on AI impact on the media and entertainment industry. It says that by 2027, there will be a 45,000 crore impact just on the revenue, but it has a lot of other things in it. First thing it says is 45% of the media industry executives, CXOs, have already started taking initiatives on GenAI, right? They're already working on things, like either launching an ad using GenAI, or writing script using GenAI, or creating ad banners, creating ideas, optimizing content generation, and so on. So that's happening at a rapid scale. And most of these CXOs said, our CEOs are driving this initiative themselves, which means it has not just become an agenda of the org, but at the very top, the board and the CEOs are involved. They want to make sure that they don't miss out on the bus of GenAI as it touches media and entertainment industry. The third thing the report also says is that 85% of the media companies are saying that they would want to outsource the GenAI tech. They don't want to build it themselves. Like if a company, an OTT player wants to do dubbing using AI, or lip sync using AI, visual lip sync using AI, there's a startup for that, right? They might want to go to them rather than, you can't build it all in-house because there are so many areas. I'll take a minute to talk about the areas that will be touched by AI in the industry. One is script writing. As I said, there are companies giving script writing co-pilots. Second is dubbing, not just audio dub, but also visual dub, where Kevin Spacey on House of Cards, imagine being dubbed into Hindi, but his lips are moving for English, right? It's a dissonance in your mind. The quality of that dubbing is not exactly the same then, although you have subtitles and audio track in your own language. So now you can do visual lip syncing for the Hindi language, because when I'm saying mo, I'm moving my lips in certain ways, and that could be done the right way. So you actually change the video for that, even if his lips are doing something else at that moment. And imagine doing this at 4K for a large OTT player in 4K resolution. That is available today. That's happening as we speak. Multilingual translations, real-time captioning. If a politician is giving a speech or somebody is speaking at United Nations, in real time, that content gets converted into audio and subtitle track of 30, 40 languages and can be seen by the world in their own language. So it's hyper-personalization. Then in distribution, you can use GenAI to personalize the ad. I actually saw an ITC Sunfeast ad campaign that said that play the role in your own ad, right? Like you could be a character in the ad. You just go to a website or a mobile app and give you a photo, like Niraj said, and you can actually feature along with another celebrity like say Shah Rukh Khan in the ad, and you are the other person in the ad. So ads are getting so personalized that you are acting in the ad yourself. You are not just watching it from outside. and everyone would love that. And imagine, would you remember the brand and the ad or not if you have played in the ad a role that you wanted to play? You can choose the character, you can be the mother in the ad, you can be the father in the ad, you can be the son in the ad, and so on, right? So that is happening. Then, so distribution through ads, and then as I said, the generation of visuals, like the Cadbury cricket ad example I gave, that's where AI is aiding. And finally, also in analyzing the brand presence and analyzing the preferences, again AI is helping, which is, of course, the ad tech companies have done it to death earlier, but now it's getting to the level where you're able to see something happening in digital trails and generate an ad regarding that and serve it on the platter within a few milliseconds. So for example, if I'm talking about a movie on, say, playing cards, let's say, right? Or say a movie on playing poker, on WhatsApp conversation with someone, can a brand actually come up with a poker-related ad for their brand and serve it to me within a few seconds on the spot? So that's how hyper-personalized and real-time it's going to get.
So that's a good segue into the question also that I have for you. Is a controversial Japanese green tea and features a promising longevity.
Should I just add to whatever Rohit said in terms of...
Yeah, so I'll ask the question, you can answer that. And
Sure, yeah, we'll go by the script.
However, the model holding the tea bottle is not real, but a generative AI creation, worrying the Japanese human models about their livelihoods.
Yeah.
So, since you are working a lot in this space, how do you feel it evolving here?
Absolutely. I think in one of the MarTech conference which I did last year, I had 4 panelists. There were my friends from Nestle, Perfetti, and Pepsi, if I'm not wrong. And the 4th one was a digital person, which was created by us. I used to call her Kalpana. She's still there. And I feed in a lot of my presentations, the Q&A, into her, and we have a lot of conversations going. Now what's happening with digital people and the platforms, the way it's evolving and how it's getting AI charged, that the platforms now are able to read sentiments as well in a big way. Imagine if I were to create a mental health helpline for Gen Z audience, and we've done one on WhatsApp for one of the brands, but imagine I had to do it on the 5G superhighways. Like I said, if the consumer is now sitting on a bandwidth which is much higher, 200 Mbps, what are the kind of stickier destinations would you create? So your regular WhatsApp bots or your regular web browser-based bots will now become your digital personalities, right? And the beauty about these digital person is, if a person is dialing into that digital human and she comes alive, and if the person is crying, supposing it's a helpline, she's going to go empathetic. But if a person is smiling, she'll smile back at you. That's classic low latency and 5G for you, right? So I would read the expressions in runtime, someone's crying, and I've coded it saying that if you get these expressions, go mellow, go empathetic, stuff like that. So that's something which is already on. And as we see the Zen Alpha audiences, as we call it, with all the kids born after 2010 and upwards, these are the iPad generations. They were born with the iPads, with the screens, right? And they're pretty much living on these virtual worlds. So tens and millions of kids who are getting raised on platforms like Roblox and Minecraft, including ours, right? My son actually co-runs a Zen Alpha conversation with me and talks about the parental guidelines and what is being set by me for him. And if I ask him today, do you need a chocolate or Robux, he would say Robux. Why? Because he can just go out there, wear the fanciest jacket, create his avatar, move into the various spaces out there. And these guys, they do not like ads in any form. That's where brands or marketers will have to step up the game, and they'll have to create AI mascots of these brands are going to play branded storytelling into these virtual worlds. You getting what I'm saying? Like the classic example of Wendy's. She's a cinematic character who moves into these virtual worlds, and she's challenging avid VR gamers like me. And she's beating me at it. It's a classic man-machine, where a machine is beating humans and releasing the brand messaging out there, rather than choking the experience and asking them, watch my ad, get some free birds, and then move in, like the typical old school Angry Bird campaigns we used to do, right? Like, get those power birds, watch my ad, and then you can move ahead. And so Zen Alpha audiences are now going to be receptive to that. So to answer that, that's spot on. In the future, you would see a lot of AI mascots of brands who are going to kick in. Now, just to add to all the excitement which Rohit brought in, and my current passion of blending platforms, and I gave you an example of Ravi Shastri and how multiple platforms were being blended in the background. One of the prototypes which I worked on recently is the promo which I shot for this particular panel. So if Mansha, if we can play that, so they will get a sense in terms of what am I talking about. Are you there? Anyone from FICCI Frames, if you could play the promo which I shot for you guys? Or everyone's gone because there was a big speaker woofer party going on in some other ballroom.
There it is.
There it is.
I
Okay,
invite you all to our session, Shaping the Future of Creativity in the Digital Age. Explore the transformative power of AI in content creation and the immersive experiences reshaping digital landscapes. So join us from March 5th to 7th in Mumbai for an enlightening exchange on innovation and creativity.
You got that? What was I trying to do? So, AI engineering your picture is pretty common. Everyone's now got their AI avatar. If you load up your own voice and clone your voice, then you can get these pictures to talk. That's again very regular, right? A lot of people have been doing it, nothing new. But imagine now anyone scanning those pictures. If I'm holding a print ad today, Times of India, if I'm reading an ad with a Amitabh Bachchan celebrity in it, and if I take all possible approvals, sir, and then if the consumers or the readers who are holding the newspaper, Amitabh Bachchan just pops in through a native camera scan and he's talking while you're holding the paper, exactly like this, right? You can take it a notch forward and you can pick up characters from the paper or any print or any social media platform, place it in the live spaces. Remember mothers clicking pictures for kids with 3D tigers on Google and kids were posing with it and it was such a big rage? You can get it triggered through native camera. The power of camera focus marketing as they call it, right? So imagine you scanning any printout like this, characters can talk, characters can pop out of the picture into the physical space, running a hookup step, you can go there and users can co-create and create content out there with the celebrity. Are you getting what I'm saying? So I will record a hookup step with some, say, celebrity, top celebrity with all the approvals, remove him from the paper, place it in the physical space, he keeps doing that. I'll go there and I co-create, copy what he's doing, and then share it on social handles. Right? That's the power of blending multiple platforms and creating a magical experience for the consumer on 5G super highways with AI as soul, which people are going to get super excited about. And not just for urban India, but also for rural India, as I say. On a $10 phone today has got internet and is running on 4G, the 2G Bharat phones, right? Imagine these celebrity clones now going and building a utility services for the larger Bharat out there, the first time internet users, the guys who are on base level phones, and solve a problem out there. AI is predominantly to solve a problem. And there's so much problem which exists in India. And there's so much you can do with creativity at heart and building these AI solutions out there. Right? So I would say sky is the limit, and if you look around, all possible examples which you're seeing right now which marketers are using, AI can enhance those experiences. Look at augmented reality. Today you are scanning a pack, you are launching a car. Tomorrow you can blend generative AI and give the power to the consumer to change the color of the car or change the environment. For all you know, integrate Sora, for all you know, and create a storytelling out there. Right? There's so much which is possible. So not just AR or VR or audio ads, for all you know. Audio ads can be completely personalized in runtime. If you are listening to some music right now in this vicinity, the ad can come from a top celebrity and say, hey guys, you're having a great time at FICCI Frames. For all you know, the head of FICCI Frames can load an ad of people who are listening to music. Go to Ballroom 3, there's an interesting session going on AI. Stuff like that, right? It's so powerful. You can do so much in this space. And you've got to be watchful, like sir said.
Well, I think in Gen Z language, you have enough riz to get complimentary, you'll get concessions and approvals just for the mere asking. So don't worry much about it.
Like he said, with great powers comes great responsibility. I think Spider-Man line, it was such a big hit. AI is giving us great powers, right? And we got to be responsible. If there's web, there is dark web. There are good people and there are bad people, right? You got to outnumber them. Outnumber the bad guys. Create experiences which go super duper viral. Utilities which the world talks about. And India creates it. You getting what I'm saying? It's so much is possible. You cannot take everyone head on, but you can use the power of technology and creativity to create a meaningful campaign which everyone starts talking about. And which country better than India to land these solutions? We've got some serious problems. We've got to work towards it. Clap again, please. Thank you so much.
I would have. Moving to you, Gautam. I keep hearing the same thing. Everyone's talking about the legal concerns. He's got 5 people in his team. This includes infringement, ownership of AI-generated works, use of unlicensed content in training data, and risks of willful infringement in contracts. How are you guiding your clients in this matter?
Thank you, Uday, for the question. And after Niraj's interesting take on AI, I'm going to get into a little bit of the legal aspects to this and how, while we all know that, the legislation which is there around, while there's a lot of debate that, there is enough legislation, there is not enough legislation, how is India as a country looking at AI? While under the legislative, and for this question, what I will do is I'll just break it up into a couple of aspects. So first, what I'll take up is the ownership, right? So copyright, the act or the law in India, while ownership is one aspect, at the crux of it lies authorship. So when we talk about author, like Pravin sir mentioned, author is the person who creates the work. So when we are talking about AI, which is creating multitude of works, it could be, literary works, it could be musical works, it could be scripts, it could be any of that, right? So AI is creating these works based on prompts. So can the work that has been created by an AI the AI be given authorship over it? There are, various challenges to that because while the law in India, currently the way it is drafted, does give a broad interpretation as a person, could be a legal person, could be a human. However, the judiciary in India, I think there are sufficient case laws where, way back in '93, I think, there was a case where it was clarified that there needs to be a human element to claim authorship over a work. So a legal person or an entity cannot claim authorship over a work because, like Pravin sir mentioned, there are challenges to various. If an entity claims authorship, there could be challenges of liability or claiming moral rights and stuff like that. Where this stand was again in 2019, where a computer compiled a list of data sets. The court refused to give authorship to the computer per se without human, because there was no human intervention there. However, in 2020, there was an AI tool called Raghav, which actually got authorship, which the Copyright Office actually said that, that AI tool is the author. But then again, this was, the Copyright Office kind of withdrew this, claim that the author. So there is that challenge on, authorship. Subsequently, as an author can be the owner as well. So ownership also can be questioned over here. So there is that, slight ambiguity when it comes to the legislation, the Copyright Act saying, giving a broader interpretation to authorship, whereas the judiciary is viewing it very differently. So that's to do with ownership. Now coming to, derivatives. I will talk a little bit about derivatives because when we are talking about AI, you have the input, that is the prompt that a user gives, and the output that comes out of the AI tool. So can that output have copyright ownership? Now, under copyright law, when we talk about works, we talk about original works and derivative works. So original works is essentially something which is original, which doesn't have any base, which is not derived from any other work. Whereas derivative works are something where, the works are derived from some sort of an original work with substantial modifications. So when we talk about the output that comes out of an AI tool, can that be considered derivative works? Well, it depends on how the training has happened. Considering it's generative AI, it has gone through a vast amount of data to give an output based on various prompts that it could receive. So one may say that it is a derivative work, but if it is a derivative work, then there is the challenge of, can there be ownership of that derivative work if the training data or, you know, the input that has been gone onto the system, did they have the rights to do that? Because derivative work is a work which is a right of a copyright owner. So if I, as a user, I'm giving a prompt to the AI tool to give me a work, like a script maybe, or a painting, can I claim ownership? No, because if the rights were not there originally to create that derivative output, then I can't claim ownership over it, because that's a right, what we call a right to adapt under the Copyright Act. That's a right which is there to the original work and the original owner.
But how can you do that if you're creating something in Sora? Okay. How can somebody claim that this is my copyright you're using? There's nothing like that.
So you're talking about the output, right?
I'm talking about the output.
Yeah.
Suppose I've created some visuals in Sora, okay? And when I've created, it is my only prompting.
Yes.
I did yesterday also.
Yes.
I prompted that please create 2 dogs fighting at Times Square in New York. And they created, right now I have it on my phone, yesterday. But it's a very short one. It's not the original Sora. There are a lot of Soras fakes available on your apps, okay? But it's doing the job, okay? But it didn't create a 1-minute thing. It just created 5-7 seconds or whatever it is. But now, if you see that clip, who is the owner? Who created the dogs? Who created Times Square? I don't know who will come and say this is my copyright over it. So I'm still confused what you're saying.
No, okay. So, okay, let me clarify. So, again, so there you're talking about original works and derivative works, right? Now this, what you have asked Sora to create for you is something which could be considered original, because it, you've given a specific prompt to it where it could have had multiple training data which has been fed into it of 2 dogs fighting maybe, right? So while, this may not be considered a derivative, you can go ahead and claim copyright over this as an original work.
But it is original because it's my concept. It is my concept
Yes,
of 2
that's what I'm
dogs
saying.
fighting
So-
on Times Square.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So this being an original work, you can claim copyright over it. What I was talking about is derivatives, which essentially, like for example, let's say, paint me a picture of Mona Lisa, right? Now that, or maybe paint me a picture of Mona Lisa sitting on a swing.
Yeah.
So that, what
That
I
sort
was
of
getting
thing,
at
yes.
is that kind of content which comes out, which could be derived from the original work.
Possibly, yes. What you're
That's
saying.
where I say that you can't really claim copyright ownership.
Okay, got it. Got it.
So the prompt that you would have given this is very generic in nature.
So it is not 100% sure that you can claim copyright. Even
Absolutely.
the guy who's created Mona Lisa in any of the softwares, okay, and applications and all those things, he can say, okay, this is not 100% Mona Lisa, it may be 90%. You cannot recreate Mona Lisa 100%, I'm too sure, okay? So it could be 90%, may look like Mona Lisa. So how can those people in France think, this is our product? It's something like Mona Lisa.
Sorry, can you...
I think in the interest of time, what I would suggest is take it offline, because our panel time is over and he had the point to make.
I just had a final point to make which is relevant to the current conversation. I wanted to say that we are in a world where technology is running ahead of regulations and jurisdiction.
Yeah,
right? So the concept of original versus derivative, like he was saying, that somebody had taken a Times Square picture and somebody had taken a photo of a Labrador, right? And that has been used to train Sora, and that is generating that video that he prompted. So then, is there no copyright of the guy who took the photo of the Labrador and the photo of the Times Square? And they two might be different people, right? And the third person is one who gave the prompt. So it's very confusing as to, I'll tell you, it's even crazier. Nowadays, there are meta GenAI engines, which means they are talking to 4 other GenAI models, taking prompts and training another 5th engine on top of it. So it's called a meta engine. So you have derivative of a derivative. Now try figuring out the copyright of that. It's super hard. So all I would say is, to end the debate is, we are living in a world full of technology running ahead of jurisdiction and regulations. We need to also pull our socks up in terms of redefining our laws. Like Pravin ji said, the current laws may not be enough. We need to rethink the laws as well to protect the copyrights of artists appropriately in the new world.
I think that brings it to an end. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions. I know, Nikhil, you've been itching to ask one. One question, okay. I hope that's fine.
Pre-booked a question.
You pre-booked it, so okay.
Like a pre-book a mail, he's pre-booked a question.
I'll ask a question which I
You can't ask the question you already asked. So.
I'm going to ask Mr. Anand this because this is also critical to ownership. Is an AI chatbot an intermediary or a publisher? And in that sense, where does the liability lie?
What's the question? Come again.
Is an AI
Chatbot an intermediary or a publisher? Where does the liability lie?
I think a chatbot is certainly not an intermediary, because an intermediary would, to my mind, be a party who is like a librarian in a library. There may be a book on defamation which is defamatory, but the librarian has kept his or her hands off and is not participating in the contents of that book. Or like somebody who runs a toll, cars are passing, there may be smugglers who are smuggling drugs across, but the toll does not interfere. That is an intermediary. No participation at all. Whereas I think in ChatGPT, there is major participation, right? And money is being earned. And therefore, the profit motive itself kills the intermediary status, at least the way we've understood it under Section 79 of the Copyright Act, which is the only provision known to me under Indian law which talks about an intermediary in a developed sort of way. If you talk about the intermediary regulations and take them all together, then a chat GPT would not be an intermediary.
Okay, with that we bring the session to
But
an
of
end.
course, these questions are off the cuff, and we lawyers always have our caveats.
Shreya Singhal left it to actual
I'll have to
knowledge.
look up further.
Shreya Singhal left it to actual knowledge, which in that sense, the profit motive doesn't really fit into that aspect.
With that brings the session to an end. If you want to talk to any one of the panelists, they're available outside. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. I must say, script really